Hi, everyone. We'll be starting in just one more minute. I'm just admitting a bunch of extra people, and then we'll start.
Carlene, I think you can start the event and I will admit people.
All right. Thank you so much for your assistance, Meenakshi. So hello, everyone. Ellie, you can go live now. Hello, everyone. My name is Carlin Ning, and I am your event organizer and facilitator. Today, we will be learning about how we can improve our interview skills. This presentation is being done as part of the Employment Services at Immigrant Services Calgary, where we strive to help newcomers reach their full potential. Please note that the presentation is being recorded and will be posted online at Facebook. To our Facebook audience, I would offer you a warm welcome. And to our Zoom audience, I also welcome you and urge you to participate later on in our Q&A session. I would like to start off by welcoming our guest speaker today, Lena Alex. Lena is a noted talent consultant and recruitment expert with 10 plus years of experience in her field. She feels inspired when working in a field that allows her to transform careers. Her recent book, Overcome Your Interview Anxieties, is aimed at helping new Canadians and all those who need it resume tips and interview advice. She is an Indo-Canadian who has lived in Alberta for the last 15 years. So I just have a few quick housekeeping things I want to cover before we get started and ask Lena to get into the topic. The first thing is I would like to humbly thank our program funder, IRCC. Without you, we would not be able to run this program. Please also turn off your microphones and mute your microphones and cameras and everything. We do have many participants, so we are asking that you do that until the Q&A session or if you are called upon by Lena to participate. Please note that no abusive language will be tolerated in this room. And please do not post any information in the chat box. And please do not post any personal information on our Facebook page. Please save all the questions for the end of the workshop. You may either type them in, or if Lena permits you to, you may ask the question verbally. At the end of the presentation, I will be sending out a special evaluation link to everyone who was registered for the event. I thank you so much for coming and participating. Again, my name is Carlin Ning, and I'm your event facilitator. And now I'm going to turn over the floor to Lena Alex. Lena?
Thank you, Carolyn, for that introduction and the housekeeping items. I'm excited to be here this afternoon, and I want to welcome all the participants who have joined us via Zoom and via our Facebook page as well. And I'm sure that you will benefit from this session. Feel free to take notes on the worksheet that I've provided you and that was distributed by Carolyn. At this point, I'm going to share my screen. I hope you'll be able to see my screen. While I'm doing this, I hope you can see my screen right now. While I'm doing this, I'd like to ask you all to think of your scenario where you're job hunting. What comes to mind when you're in a job search? I'm pretty sure two things come to mind when you're job searching. One would be resumes and the other would be interviews. So today our topic of discussion is how to be a winner at interviews. We all have those jitters when you go for an interview, right? I have been in interviews myself. I've been in plenty of interviews, over 1,000 of them. And if I were to be on the other side of the interview table, being an interviewee, I'm pretty sure I will have the jitters and the anxieties too. So that, I've seen so many people in anxieties during the interviews. I've even written a book about how to overcome your interview anxieties. So I don't blame you if you have interview anxieties yourself. how can we be a winner at the interviews? Believe that you are a strong contender. Only if you are a strong contender, they'll call you for an interview. If they like your education, your experience, and your skill set, then you'll call for an interview. So understand that half the battle is over when you call for an interview. Secondly, you're one step closer to the employer, and which could always result in an offer. So be happy that you're one step closer to your employer. What are the three things you need to do? Prepare, prepare, and more preparation. Research the company that you are being interviewed with. Rehearse some of your answers. Repeat until you get better at these questions. So when you go into an interview, most of the large companies have behavioral-based interviews, and they have an icebreaker question. The icebreaker question usually is, tell me a little bit more about yourself. That is usually how they start an interview. So I've seen many people say a lot about their family, the place they come from, and things like that. But those are all good. What they are expecting in that question, tell me about yourself, is mostly your professional background and not your personal background. So make it your professional background. 80% of it should be your professional background. Tell the number of years you've had as experience in that related field, the industries that you've worked in, and perhaps a couple of key accomplishments that you've had. In the worksheet that I provided, I have a format on how to answer this question. Tell me about yourself, which will contain 80% of your professional skills and perhaps a little bit about your personal or your hobbies to keep it curious for the interviewer. That actually creates an intriguing conversation during the initial part of the interview. And I'd like to now call upon a volunteer who has actually given us, graciously volunteered to answer this question. Tell me about yourself. Emmanuel will be going ahead now. So please go ahead, Emmanuel, with the format that I have presented in the worksheet.
Emmanuel, I have unmuted you. You may speak now.
Okay, so all right, so I excuse me, I am a strategic and results-oriented electrical engineering specialist with over 5 years experience. I have attended several trainings and educational programs in electrical and control systems engineering, which have helped me gain expertise in especially electrical designs. My career has given me the opportunity to gain work success in developing highly measurable optimization processes throughout the entire electrical engineering cycle, from design, construction, operations, and maintenance. Also, I've had the opportunity to develop excellent record of achievement in large-scale leading projects, as well as fast-paced, small capital sustaining projects. I am an innovative professional, effective, creative, appropriate, and cost-effective change in situations which I would say present or has presented major challenges. Also, I am an avid reader and I enjoy swimming. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Emmanuel, for sharing a little bit more about yourself using that format. Totally appreciate that. We have one more volunteer to tell a little bit more about herself. The next volunteer is Ogona. Ogona, please go ahead.
My name is Ogona Arizechi. I have over 10 years experience in oil and gas and also the professional services industries. My specialty is in accounting and finance. My experience and my education in accounting and my experience over the years has helped me to build expertise in tax, in audit, in treasury management, and in business partnering. During my career, I got the opportunity to build cash forecast templates for the treasury function, new cash forecast templates for the treasury function in Shell Nigeria, while also incorporating other continuous improvement projects. I love taking on new challenges. That is why I'm currently taking building competencies in business intelligence, where I'm learning how to use new tools like Tableau, Power BI, SQL, Informatica, and QLink. I'm also an avid reader. I believe that my education, my experience, and my growth mindset would help me excel on this role. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ogona and Emmanuel. You both were able to give your expertise, your education, and a little bit about your personal skill set or your hobby as well. So though we use the format, Emmanuel and Ogona both had different skill sets to share. Thank you both. And please utilize that format that I gave you in the worksheet to have this opening statement. Now we'll go more into behavioral-based interviews after the opening statement. What are behavioral-based interviews? These are basically structured interviews. The hiring manager and the recruiter would have prepared questions for all candidates. They try to keep this consistent for all candidates so that towards the end of the interviews, they compare all the questions, compare all the answers, and pick the candidate that fits their needs the best. Behavioral-based interviews are based on the premise of past behavior predicts future success. So for all of these questions, what they're looking for is real-life stories on competencies. It could be conflict resolution, it could be results-oriented, how you're customer-focused, how about your work habits? So all of these competencies can be asked in behavioral-based interviews. I can share my first experience when I was in a first interview when I came to Canada several years ago. I had shaky hands and sweaty palms. I could not even answer any of those questions. None of the examples would come to mind because I had not practiced, I had not prepared. So after 5 years or so, I practiced and I practiced. And I remember going to one of the interviews as an HR specialist, and I remember the lady asking me, Lena, we will be going ahead with behavior-based interviews today. We are looking for 3-part answers. Think of a situation you were in that, think of the action you have taken and the final outcome. So that helped me to organize my thoughts a little bit better. And during that interview, I could give my examples from my previous life or my professional life. There are other types of interviews as well. There would be a simulative interview, case studies, or unstructured interviews. Today, we will talk more about behavioral interviews. So what are these behavioral-based interview questions? These questions are asked by presenting a situation to you, inquiring what action you have taken in that situation or something similar you've been in that past, in that situation in the past, and what the final outcome was. How can we answer these questions? These questions can be answered in a STAR methodology. STAR methodology is a situation or a task, the action, and the final outcome. We all have stories that are waiting to be heard and waiting to be unleashed. So I suggest that you take your stories, your personal stories, when you come to these interviews and tell them in a personalized way, your stories. I jokingly say to my friends that I can remember the stories of movies that I watched 10 years ago. I can remember the storyline, I can remember the actors and how the story ends. But if you were to ask me what was the headline of the newspaper last week, I might draw a blank, I won't remember. So we have the ability to remember stories and retain them. So exactly like that, hiring managers and recruiters also have the ability to remember stories. You have many stories. Recall your stories, recall your best experiences, start with a clean slate, and write them down. One could be an example for conflict resolution. Another could be an example of how results oriented you are. Another example would come on how you are customer focused. So write these stories in 3 parts. One would be the situation you've been in, the action you have taken, and the final outcome. Say it in your own words using the format, the situation, action, and the result, and tell it perhaps to your friends, perhaps to your family, maybe record yourself. So practice these questions in 3-part answers. Now I have some examples of behavior-based questions. Tell me about a time when you faced a significant change in your organization and how you managed that change. The change could be a positive or a negative change. You can think about the struggles and the situations you overcame. I can give you an example of how I faced change. I know this year we all faced changes in several ways. We can have plenty of examples for changes in the organization or changes in your personal or professional life. I want to give you an example from about 10 years ago while I was working in an organization, and it's a small change. It was an organization-wide change of migrating the system from Oracle to SAP. We were all comfortable with Oracle. However, the manager came one day and said, we are migrating the systems from Oracle to SAP. You will be given training. It'll be much more efficient after the migration takes place. Everybody was apprehensive about the change, even me. I thought, we are comfortable with this. Why are we even making that change? But again, I kept an open mind. There were trainers coming in on SAP. I absorbed it. I liked learning new things. I'm a continuous learner. So I absorbed the training. We had a lot of fun on the go live day. It was a big celebration of going live with SAP. And there were some bugs in the system. And initially, though we had the training, we had to call the tech center to understand, why there were bugs in the system. It was not functioning properly. But after we went through all of that, after a few weeks, we got used to the system. The bugs were removed, everything was clear. And eventually it became more efficient. It was less time consuming. And overall, our professional lives improved. Our lives became much better with that change. It was much more efficient. So in this example, I actually gave a small situation where the change was happening, the action I have taken to go ahead with the change, and the final outcome. So similarly, we all can come up with examples using the STAR methodology: a situation, action, and the outcome. I also have another example here. Think of a time when you had to make a quick decision and what were the consequences. So using this methodology, you can answer these questions. I encourage you all to take some notes and have these answers prepared. Again, now we have our volunteer, Emmanuel, who has graciously agreed to answer the question, tell me about a change that you have faced in the organization and how you managed. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Okay, so I used to work as the head of the technical services team for a premium domestic and professional appliance manufacturer. And I worked there for about 2 years, where I served as, where my responsibility had to do with leading and managing a team of 4 technicians. So there was a time we needed to improve our filing and documentation processes by the adoption of an enterprise resource planning software, which was hosted on the cloud. This required all hardware and software documents ranging from customer files, invoices, service contracts, accounting and payroll, and so on and so forth to be collated into this unified system. This also required that I logged customer calls, scheduled tasks for respective technicians, monitored the tasks to see to completion, and treat escalated tasks, etc., using this new ERP on the cloud. So earlier, I would ordinarily assign tasks to technicians, mainly verbally, face-to-face, or via phone call, then send further details via emails or text messages. However, with this new cloud-based ERP, I had to assign tasks via the system and monitor progress thereof. However, I had to still follow up with a call from time to time in order to encourage the use of the new ERP. Understandably, it was challenging to have the technicians always use the ERP from their phones, as they all had login details to the cloud-based platform. But with a lot of prompting and encouragement from me, uh, they all eventually became used to it, and it became collectively productive. So I could access this tool from anywhere with an internet connection. Same with other team members and the team leads with respective access levels. So the deployment and use of this cloud-based ERP tool provided some level of flexibility for the organization and improved entire process performance efficiency, thereby contributing positively to the bottom line of the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So thanks for sharing your experience about change and how you came about with the change. I also like the fact that you told some of the benefits towards the end about efficiency, saving time, and having everybody on that platform. Thank you again. And one thing I would like to encourage towards the end would be, again, giving an outline towards the end so they remember what the initial situation was and trying to conclude with the outcome or the result. So great job. Thank you, Emmanuel, for participating. So now with the interviews, I would like to encourage you to stay out of the woods. When you are giving an example, say that in past tense and say what you have done before. Do not say, I would do this in future, or I could do this in future. Tell what you have done and stay away from vague generalizations. Be specific, be with your in-depth answers. If you don't remember a scenario that you've been in, it's okay to pause for a second and think of that situation and repeat that question to yourself. You might come up with an example. Do not sound super rehearsed or artificial. During the interview, build rapport with the panel. Talk to them as if you are having a conversation. It is essentially a conversation. You're also trying to see how good of a team they are and how you can work well with them. I encourage you all to take notes during the interview. Perhaps they'll be telling you more about the position, the company. The notes actually would form a foundation for your questions towards the end. Ask follow-up questions. I know in certain cultures, it is not polite to ask questions to an authority, a person in authority, but I'm sure most of the employers encourage candidates to ask good questions. So prepare some well thought out questions. That is always appreciated by the employers. Some key takeaways would be give yourself time. Don't rush before the interview or during the interview. Take time to answer your questions. Stay calm during the interview and take deep breaths. That's how you stay calm. Like I said, keep it a conversation. Have a couple of topics for small talk, even during the interview or beginning of the interview. Answer questions in 3 parts: your situation, the action you have taken, and the final outcome. Answer these questions in past tense, not future tense or present tense. Make sure that it has happened in the past and you're telling your experiences from the past. And make it personal. Give your personal story, which is unique and powerful. As you wrap up the interview, you can emphasize again why you're a great candidate. You can rephrase the opening statement that you used, add a few of the items from the job posting or what they have shared during the interview and say why you're a great fit or a great candidate for this position. Some other factors to keep in mind is dress code. If you have doubt about the dress code, ask them, what is the dress code? If you don't get an answer or if you do not if you did not ask that question, always err to the side of caution and dress for success. So make sure that you speak slowly and clearly so that they can understand you. Have confidence in yourself and project that confidence during the entire interview. Have an eye contact with everybody in the interview panel. Towards the end, ask for contact information, send thank you emails, and connect with them either via LinkedIn or social media, and network with them. If that interview is not successful, perhaps there would be another opportunity coming down the lane where you could be a good candidate. Build that network, and I know that you would be all building a network in Canada. Your network is your net worth. That is what I believe in. So as I go forward, I encourage you all to connect with me via LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. And all the discussion that we had today and more is explained in my book, Overcome Your Interview Anxieties. This book contains common interview questions, behavioral-based questions with winning answers, also 10 questions to ask the employer towards the end of the interview, and some illegal questions in Canada. I know in certain countries it's okay to ask where you're from or your date of birth, but unfortunately it's not a legal question in Canada. I have mentioned 10 illegal questions in this book and how to deflect in case you've been asked that question. This book is now available on Amazon, and I'm getting good testimonials from people who have read them. And even this afternoon, I got a message from a person who has read this book and encouraging everybody to read it. I encourage you to purchase this book, perhaps for yourself and you're in the process of job searching, or for a friend who is in the job hunt, or a new grad who is looking for a job. The link of the book is on my website. It's www.talentsuccess.ca. Feel free to send me an email with your feedback about this session, and I can give you a free resume template on how to organize your template resume better. I'm also offering interview coaching sessions based on this book over the next 6 weeks, focused on behavioral-based interviews and how to prepare winning answers for yourself. You can contact me for more details in terms of the time, the schedule, and the cost. So I encourage you all to connect with each other and connect with me to have that network. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Like I said, I'm offering coaching sessions as well over the next 6 weeks. I wanted to introduce Shelley. She is a co-author on my book, and the other picture is me when I was invited for a talk on Red FM on how to enhance your resume. At this point, I want to thank you all and Immigrant Services Calgary, especially Carlin and Meenakshi Lamba, for this opportunity, and all participants who joined us today via Zoom as well as Facebook. I encourage you to stay safe, stay connected, and wish you well in your job search. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lena. That was a wonderful presentation. I think I speak on behalf of many of the people here. We found the information you provided very interesting and informative. At this point in time, we are going to end the live Facebook presentation. So I would like to humbly thank you for attending our event live via Facebook. However, we are going to enter the Q&A session for those of you who are on Zoom. So I am just going to go ahead and conclude the live stream. So thank you for attending, Facebook audience, and we hope to see you at our next live Facebook event.